and your relationship with yourself that has nothing to do with anything you do, nothing to do with anything about your interactions with other people. It's your relationship with yourself and what you believe and feel about who you are innately. That is what we're talking about. If we don't get that sorted, then everything in your life becomes a little or a lot tumultuous because your come from position is out of kilter.
You're listening to Practical Spirituality with B, the podcast with spiritual advice for your everyday life, helping you align with your soul so you can live with purpose, fulfillment, and magic. I'm Bernadette Logue. You can call me B, and I'm excited to share this episode with you.
Welcome to the podcast today, where we're going to be talking about healing from feeling not good enough, coming to you from beautiful rural central North Island of New Zealand, where I'm visiting it at the moment. It is wonderful to be tuning in with you, sharing this pretty beautiful green outlook with you. And this is a huge topic. So as far as human psychology, human emotional challenges, that I feel not good enough, I feel not enough, and I believe I am not good enough, I believe I am not enough, is one of the foundational, I would say, top 3 challenges that people have in their psyche. So we all get conditioned growing up, we all go through experiences, and we all have a very similar core foundation of things that we find challenging in this human journey, this ride called life that we're on, and overcoming the sense of not good enoughness that we experience in this earth school thing that we're doing, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually and energetically. It is one of the big ones. And it plays out really differently for different people. But if you're experiencing a really challenging experience of life because of feeling not good enough, you are seriously not alone. Like when people say you're not alone, it can sound a little bit glib, but you really need to know you're not alone, because so many of us go through the same thing. We are souls incarnate in human being form, doing life. We chose to come here, and when we get poured into a body and we're birthed into this world, there are certain things about being in human life experience which trigger and set us up for the experience of feeling not good enough. If you don't understand how that goes, then you logically, intellectually can't see what's happening. Then it feels like something is wrong with you. So I'm going to take you through some really important perspectives so that you can start to see this whole experience objectively. We still need to heal it at the mental, emotional, and energetic level, but it's not until you can see it objectively that things start falling into place. So the first thing about this is there are 2 kinds of feeling not good enough. One is a logistical, logical, real life, factual experience of I don't feel good enough to, and then insert some activity experience. So for example, I don't feel my communication skills are good enough to have this conversation. I don't feel I am skilled enough to do this new career. And so we have a thing in our life where we feel not good enough to engage with it or do it. Now that is like a factual lived experience, and that is something that is called learned skill, learned experience, where you can feel more capable and confident and enough inside yourself, inside your competency, your capability, and your skill level to be in the world and navigate and feel capable, okay? That is not what we are talking about in this podcast episode. We are not talking about your enoughness, feeling good enough to be an accountant, feeling good enough to be a mother, feeling good enough to be a good partner, feeling good enough to be a public speaker, feeling good enough to do X, Y, Z, anything in this world, because of lacking learned skill and having learned experience to grow in that area. We are talking about your relationship with innately who you are as a being. So you're on a planet, You're in a body. Here you are, plonked on the planet. And your relationship with yourself that has nothing to do with anything you do, nothing to do with anything about your interactions with other people. It's your relationship with yourself and what you believe and feel about who you are innately. That is what we're talking about. If we don't get that sorted, then everything in your life becomes a little or a lot tumultuous because your come from position is out of kilter. So when we talk about healing the feeling of not good enoughness, we need to understand what its root is. Now, we're going to just dive straight into this, and it's going to sound very existential because it is. And that is that you are in the feeling of not good enough. I'm not good enough. I feel not good enough. I believe I'm not good enough. You are in non-recognition of the powerful soul truth of who you are. You are a soul. You are an extension of Source, God, Creator, Divinity, Universe. You are like a ray of light from that born forth, projected forth, poured into a body, and you're having a human experience. If you don't recognize the absolute divine beauty and enoughness of who you are in the very breath that you breathe, in the very cells of your being, in the very essence of your spirit, it is okay to not feel good enough to do certain things in the world. We all are beginners at something. We all have to exercise the muscle of our psychology and our relationship skills and all that stuff out there to do life. But if you don't recognize the soul truth of who you are, and you don't tune in and start to feel it pulsing inside of you, and you don't start to step back from this sort of chaotic circus of society and human life and all the stuff that we have to deal with as human beings, if you don't step back from that and remember who you really are and recover who you really are, to reconnect into it and to have that be your come from position in life, then everything else is like a band-aid slapped on top of a wound. And the wound is this: we are of oneness. We are born of source energy. We are of God mind, creator mind, one mind, loving consciousness, whatever you want to call it, God, Allah, whatever your faith system is. We honor all of these names in whatever your faith, religion, or belief system is. If you don't recognize that you are that made manifest and born forth from, then what happens is this: you are the oneness. You are in that level of deep, intricate, loving connection with that. When we forget, because we fall asleep inside the stream of life and we've forgotten who we really are and where we came from, if you don't recognize that in yourself, then what has happened is a separation has occurred. Okay? You are of oneness, but then you come into a body and now you're separate. Your body is over there, my body's here. There's 3D reality, there's physical objects, and we look to the eye separate. And we don't remember where we came from or who we are. We've fallen asleep in what I call the dream of life, and we start to forget, and we have this split off. We split off in our mind. We are not recognizing who we are, and the separation and the split off is the original wound that wants to be healed. So everything else is a band-aid on top. When you start to go, oh, I have forgotten and I have covered up and I have been led away from the truth of who I am, and that separation from my core self, that separation from my authentic self, that separation from the oneness that I belong to is really the real problem and the only problem. You stop fiddling with the symptoms of it out there in your life. That does not mean that we don't address how it is showing up as a rift in your emotions, or a rift in your psychological programming, or a rift in your body in terms of energy that you're carrying, somatically dealing with what's going on, because the split away from this truth of who we are, and it's like we are enough because we're born of creation. Creation is magnificent. You are born of it, and you are enough innately, without saying a word, without doing a single thing, without any comparison, without any relation to anything else. You are creation made manifest. You are spirit in a body. You are God, mind, loving consciousness. You are so enough inside yourself, just you being born and breathing, that it would blow your freaking mind if you could even touch the truth of how powerful that is. You are on a journey to come home to that truth. And everything you do that brings you closer to that truth is to be honored and cherished. Anything that carries you away from that truth is to be looked at with intelligence and logic and discernment, and to look at it from all angles and start to really question, what about what is going on here in reality and in my experience of life and in my past and in my belief system that is clearly not working for me, that is clearly regenerating and re-traumatizing and carrying me further and further and further away into this narrative that I am not enough. Now, the original wound in our separation from loving consciousness and falling asleep inside this dream, right? It gets prodded and prompted and magnified when we start doing human life, because we're looking to the world around us to tell us when we're little ones, when we're babies, toddlers, young ones, who am I? What is this world about? And how do I get a sense of safety, love, acceptance, bonding? How do I be good? How do I behave so that I know that I'm okay? How do I read the faces and the words and the tone and the energy of a room and other people to know that I am being received and I'm okay? And then we start to relate to ourselves, not as loving source consciousness relates to us, but because of the nature of life, which we signed up for, right? We're not here by mistake. We start to relate to ourselves in relation to other people and experiences. And this is where it starts to go astray, because we compare ourselves and we take what other people say and do to us to be a reflection of who we are and our worth, our value, and our enoughness. The second that happens, we are now caught in a loop that is based on human perception and ideas and opinions and made up narratives, not the core truth, right? And so you've gone from you are innately enough without doing anything to I am now judging whether I am good enough, whether I am good enough because this person did or didn't do that thing, did or didn't say that thing, did or did not love me, did or did not show up for me, said XYZ about me, judged me, had an opinion about me. Now I'm looking at myself and I'm comparing myself, looking at my body, my mind, my abilities, and I am now looking out into the world and I'm saying, well, I'm comparing myself to XYZ other people, and now I'm making a measurement. The second you do that, you will have no peace in your life. Why? Because you are not born to be in measurement against anything or anyone. You are a unique creative expression of divine mind. You are a divine idea and divine mind and God's consciousness, whatever you call it. And there is nothing about your innate nature that is measurable to anyone or anything else. It's like trying to compare a fish to a parrot or an apple to an orange. They are innately in themselves a beautiful expression of creation. And the second you try to make comparison and measurement, you will never have peace, because it is judgment and it is separation and it is opinion. And here's the funky, weird thing about being human. Sometimes it'll work for you, because you'll get someone to reflect back to you that they think you're magnificent and you'll feel enough. And then the next person is having a bad day and they don't reflect it back to you, or they don't like you, because some personalities don't like each other, and that's okay. And then you will get a feeling of, I am not liked, I am judged, I am not XYZ enough, and now I'm feeling deflated and I don't feel enough. Now I need to do something to make myself feel better. And then we go in a yo-yo, up and down, up and down. Something in my life goes great, I feel enough. Something in my life doesn't go great, I feel not enough. Someone likes me and says so, I feel enough. Someone judges me and has an opinion, which PS has nothing to do with you, it's just their projection, and you go down like a ton of bricks. You cannot have your enoughness based on the external world, which leads to the most important point, and that is this. To heal your feeling of not enough, you cannot do it in relation to the world out there, because you will sometimes get stuff that helps you heal, and sometimes you'll get stuff that feels like a slap in the face and does not help you heal and only re-traumatizes you and puts you straight back into the cycle of feeling not good enough. So there is a coming home into yourself where you have a sphere of control and personal power and healing sanctuary inside of yourself. And inside of yourself, there are two core forces that support you to heal that does not require anyone or anything out there. Like out there can just go do whatever it's going to do. It could be good, bad, or otherwise. And it will not matter if you have yourself in a positive relationship, nurturing relationship inside of yourself with these two things. The first is building a loving relationship with your own self, your soulful self, intuition, your heart center is the soulful you. And when you build and nurture a loving relationship inside of yourself with that core essence, which has not changed, knows who you really are, has a message for you 24/7 if you tune in, is saying to you, you are loved, you are everything, there is nothing wrong with you, we love you, I love you, you are enough, you do not need to do anything to be more enough, you do not need to be a certain way to be enough. That voice inside of you of your soulful self will start to soothe and heal what is ill at ease in your mind, emotions, psyche. And you build this sanctuary inside of yourself. From a lifetime of constantly looking out there to everybody else and everything else to try to tell you who you are and measure whether you are good enough or not enough, you stop doing that. You recognize it and you start to build this loving, sacred sanctuary inside of yourself. The other thing that is inside your sacred circle, your sacred sanctuary inside of yourself, where you are uncovering and recovering the core of your innate beauty as a being, is the other aspect of it is God, source, creator, divinity, universe, intelligence, divine mind. The energy that gives life to you, that is beating your heart, that is breathing you, that is the intelligence in the cells of your body, that loving nurturance is all around you all the time, and it is within you. And that is your true lineage, that is your true parentage, that is the unconditional, undying, never-ending love for you that will never waver and never leave you. And sometimes you will not feel it and you will not believe it because your psyche and emotional system have been carried away from it. Because we are in 3D reality and it is an interesting place to live, right? And it's very easy to get carried away from it. So we stop looking to the external world and we start to know we have to uncover and recover our innate enoughness. It is in there. It's like a treasure hunt. You don't have to create it or build it. You are coming home to feel it. Now, here are a couple of issues that are important to keep in mind about how the feeling not good enough cycle continues and repeats itself, and it grows and grows and grows until we interrupt it and we start to recover who we really are. The first one is when it is your come from position. So something has occurred earlier in your life. It's almost for all of us, either one event or multiple events clumped together, where as a young one, we made up our mind due to things that happened, things that were done to us, things we experienced or were exposed to. I don't feel like I must be good enough. If I was good enough, then XYZ wouldn't be happening or XYZ would be happening. So clearly there's something wrong with me. I am not enough. Now, when that is your conditioned programming and you have all the feelings that go with that, which can be like feelings of emptiness, feelings of shame, so many feelings can go with that, then you have that in your mind and in your body as feelings, emotion, and energy. It is your come from position when you go out into the world. Now, if that's your come from position, your starting point is I'm not good enough. You need to see that, and I know you know this because you feel it inside of you, right? Sweet, lovely. When you go out and you go into a relationship or you go into an interview for a job or you go into any kind of interaction, something you want to do, like maybe you want to learn an instrument, maybe you want to learn a new language, or you're studying something that you want to get a certification in, your starting position, without you maybe even realizing, like really consciously realizing, your start position is, I'm not good enough for this. Because if your start position is, I am innately not good enough, then therefore anything that comes out of me becomes obviously an extension of I'm not good enough. And so it's to varying degrees that we'll feel this. When that is your starting position, Here's what happens. We are creators of our reality from the inside out. What we believe and think and how we're feeling because of those things, it directly impacts our choices, habits, behaviors, and actions. It also becomes our energetic frequency as our point of attraction. So when we go out with a whole vibe of, I'm not good enough, what ends up happening is we generate more evidence of experiences, interactions, and results that came from the recipe of I'm not good enough, which we then used to create in our life. And also we tend to bring in things to our life from an energetic perspective, which seem to show us more evidence. So we're generating, creating, and attracting. And we look at these things that we create in our life or we bring into our life, not consciously, accidentally bring into our life, and we say, look, there, see, I'm not good enough. And it becomes a perpetuating vicious cycle that we're in. Okay, so that's one of the things that happens. The second thing is life has this miraculous way inside our universe of doing what is called mirroring. And when we have something that we need to see and understand about ourselves so that we can heal and move forward, life will sometimes mirror it to us so that we can see ourselves objectively. Now, what that looks like sometimes is challenges showing up in our life, like we're getting our buttons pushed and we're having difficult feelings. And it's like, why is life doing this to me? Life is not doing to you. Life is trying to help you, like a mirror, show you something. Okay. And the mirroring effect that life does to show us that, oh, this person is doing this thing to me. And it's like, well, actually, maybe I'm doing that thing to myself. Maybe the mirror is trying to show me that I'm doing it to myself, or maybe I'm doing it to them and they're doing it to me. The mirror is extremely powerful, the life mirror, for understanding yourself. It will do this mirroring effect in like lots of ways in our life, but we're talking about it in relation to healing the feeling of not feeling good enough, of not being good enough, believing we're not enough. And so when you have any kind of instance in your life where you're having an experience and you're like, this is making me feel and believe more that I'm not good enough, there's this moment where you can soften. And instead of feeling like life is happening to you and beating down on you, to say, I wonder if life is trying to mirror to me so that I can see that this pattern of not enough, there is an opportunity here for me to see it really clearly in a new way so I can interrupt this pattern, because I cannot recover my true self while I am caught and in the loop of and in the narrative of and in the mesmerizing, hypnotizing pattern of I'm not good enough. Something has to come in and interrupt that psyche and interrupt that pattern. And life will often bring it via challenges and via mirroring effect. And there is a beautiful point in your personal growth and spiritual evolution journey where you realize this is happening. And instead of getting really lost in the triggering effect of that, there's just a moment of softening where you can go, I wonder if this is in some way trying to bring me home to myself. And if it was, what is it asking me to recognize in myself and to remember? And what inside of me, if I come inside the sacred sanctuary of the circle where it is my human self, my soulful self, and my heart center whispering to me, and God created divinity universe, which is all through me and every cell of my being, what in this beautiful trinity inside of myself am I needing to hear right now? And the second you be still with yourself, you will hear the truth. Your mind will want to say all the negative things, but inside your heart center, there is a truth, and it takes not very much time, sometimes only a couple of minutes, to tap on your heart center to be told the truth that you need to hear. What do you need to hear to heal what is ill at ease in your mind? What does the 2, 3, 4-year-old inside of you need to hear to heal the rift of feeling not good enough for the entire lifetime and the decades you've been carrying it? What in your heart center from God created divinity universe or from your soulful self is trying to come through as the message that you uniquely need to hear? and that you need to embrace and emboldeningly hold for yourself so that you may feel an energetic shift inside of you. Because if we don't do this journey back to ourselves, then we will for sure be carried away into living inside a psyche that has got rifts in there, emotions that are vibrating and resonating and rifting through our system so strongly, while meanwhile inside of us, our soul is kind of crying out for us to come home. Now, here is what we most often do. There's 3 ways people go about dealing with the feeling of I don't feel good enough. Number 1, people give up and they withdraw from life and they go inside of themselves and they live inside this really deflated energy. And it is, you're not one of those people because you're here. You're listening to this video. Yay, you didn't give up. I love this. Okay. But some people do. And then they just carry it with them to the grave. And, each person has to walk their own journey. We can't do this for other people. We come to this when it's right and good for us. And we have to make the conscious choice to heal the feeling of not good enough. The second thing people do is they go out into the world and they try to fill themselves up. Because when we feel not good enough, we feel like we're missing something. It is a feeling of emptiness or incompleteness. I do not feel the complete, fully full feeling of source divinity within me. I do not feel that I am born here walking this planet in a complete package of myself. There's something I need to become more of, get more of, be more of, do more of before I can have peace inside my mind and my heart. And so what we do is we go out to try to fill it. Now, when we try to fill it, we often fill it with things like food, drugs, alcohol, entertainment, sex, shopping, money, success, validation, recognition, awards, certifications, qualifications, all of the things. Now, all of those things in and of themselves are not a problem. No problem with any of those things. They are a beautiful dance with life, but they are a problem if you're trying to use them, have them, get them, do them in order to fill a void inside. There is a big difference between expansive expression and dancing and playing with life from a position of I am already fully full and complete and now I'm just dancing with life to I am empty inside and something is wrong with me and I need to do these and get these things to try to fill myself up. Because here is the catch-22 with that. It will never be enough to fill you up inside because an outside fix cannot fill an inside void. What you need is a match to the feeling that is going on inside. And the irony is this is the real kicker. The void doesn't really exist because you are a fully full, wholly, complete, divine being. And there isn't actually a hole inside of you, and you are not broken, and you are not missing anything. So we're trying to dump a solution into the problem that doesn't really exist. The problem is we got led astray from our home self, from our sacred sanctuary relationship with ourself and with source. And when we heal at that level, we can just play with life, and we don't need those things to fill ourselves up. The other third thing that people sometimes do when we have this drive to deal with the feeling of not good enough is the ego takes over, and instead of withdrawing and believing in the not enough narrative, and instead of trying to fill it with something, sometimes we get an expression where the ego takes over and hardens and that there's not a problem, and we go out into the world with a bravado and a shell and defense mechanisms and with an idea there's not a problem, but there is a denial of the feelings. And there is like a hard driving forward wall. Sometimes when you see people and you see them on the surface and you say they're really confident, it's really interesting that sometimes the confidences can be very genuine, and there are a lot of people with genuine confidence, but there's also a lot of confidence that is bravado, ego constructed, and underneath is actually a feeling of not enoughness, but there are walls and defenses and there are mechanisms in place to protect from the feeling of not enoughness that is inside. And so people just take all sorts of different paths to deal with this core life challenge of feeling not good enough, no matter what the degree is, whether it's just a little ripple inside because being human is challenging, or whether there's been a really painful series of events in life or conditioning earlier in life which have led to a very significant central life lesson or life challenge around this. We all have had a way where we have unconsciously and primitively decided to deal with it. We haven't thought about it necessarily in our own mind. It usually sets in really early in life, but these are the kinds of ways that it can play out. Now, I am going to share with you like 4 or 5 things that are valuable and helpful in healing when we're on this journey of healing from feeling not good enough. But I will just say this. In your innate self as a spiritual being, as an essence, and that is why you're here, it's breathing through your body right now, you're a divine being. And in that innate nature of who you are whole and complete, and you are good enough, and you are enough, and you are valuable, and you are all the things. And we are all human, and you need to, in order to heal from feeling not good enough, you need to accept this core understanding. Being a human being, all of us, makes us imperfect, because perfection is impossible. It's impossible, okay? Flat out, there is no way to be human and not be imperfect and be a little bit messy, and sometimes a lot messy, because this is the nature of the ride of life that we signed up for. So the second you let go of the idea that you're meant to have a perfect body, a perfect mind, a perfect communication ability, a perfect career, a perfect unfolding of your life, a perfect whatever, the second you let go of that, you have given yourself grace and you have acknowledged the truth, instead of trying to hold yourself to some unrealistic expectation and ideal, thinking that, for example, other people have it all together and I'm just not enough and I'm just missing something. You don't see the truth. Like, right, for example, social media is going to really wind up this issue because everyone puts on their social media display of their perfect something and their perfect this and their perfect that. And you get caught in a complete illusionary world that doesn't exist. Like that you think somehow behind the scenes of all of this, other people aren't messy or other people aren't imperfect. And in the second you are able to embrace being human, which means all the things about being human, which means imperfection and not always getting things right and having to be a learner and beginner in so many different ways and so many different things, and you have grace for yourself and others about that, and you understand that you can hold that gently with compassion while also recognizing your soulful true nature, that is the healing of feeling not good enough, because the two coexist. How wacky is that? I am completely enough and whole and complete and worthy and deserving, and I am a divine being in my soulful innate self connected to this amazing creation, and creation doesn't make mistakes and it created me, so thank you. And hold reverence for yourself and others for that spiritual nature of who we are in our heart center, and at the same time simultaneously acknowledging and allowing and having acceptance and compassion for the enormously interesting ride called life of being human and its imperfection and messiness. And often what's happening is when I deal with people in one-on-one coaching and in my group program, that people do not have a grace and compassion for that aspect of themselves because they're trying to meet some idea of expectations of other people or themselves that just simply put them in a position where they can't be human. They can't be what it is to be human. And the dichotomies in spirituality and psychology are really interesting in that, you know, I need to accept my human messiness, but I'm also divine, and I'm also in this perfect idea and divine mind, but I'm totally imperfect as a human being. Yes. Both are true. Both are true. Oh, I need to vision for what I really want in my life and really put my focus and attention on it, but I really have to be completely detached at the same time. Seeming complete dichotomy. Both are true. Yes. And this is this fascinating dance we do on this ride called life. Both are true. And when you can hold both with love, you start to open up the space to come into this healing inside of yourself of feeling not good enough. Now, there are multiple things about us as human beings, multiple levels, that we can then practically and logistically address to support this healing to go even further. For the what do I do about that, okay? We have, first of all, the spiritual dimension, and that is the recovery of your soulful self who's already in you and is you, but it's like a coming home and a recognition of that, to recognize your innate nature and to embrace the holy wholeness, the completeness and the enoughness of who you are as a being. And then we need to address your psychology, because if you have programmed beliefs that directly contradict that, we just need to bring your mind home too. So we do mind mastery to bring your mind home. Then you have an emotional system, and that's energy in your body. Emotion is energy in motion, and it is energy inside your body that is often trapped or glued in with certain belief programs. So for example, when you say to yourself, yeah, I feel not good enough, you will feel it. You're saying, I feel it. It's a feeling, it's energy inside. And so we tune into, where is that feeling? What does it feel like? If you had to name the feeling, what is the feeling? The words are, I'm not good enough. The belief is, I'm not good enough. But the feeling is something else, and they kind of marry together. So what we do is we use techniques to be able to release that energy and start to process and honor, accept, and release the feelings. So I'm a big fan of emotional freedom techniques for that, also known as tapping. There are other ways you can do that, somatic practices that help you to move the energy in your body and tune in to start to heal at this level. We've got our spirituality, we've got our psychology, we've got our emotional state, and we've got our body. We need to bring all of these parts with us. Okay, we're coming home to our spiritual truth. We're bringing our mind home. We're bringing our emotions home, and we're bringing our body home. And anything that can support you to do those things, there's so many modalities in the world. I have my Soul Odyssey journey and program for the spiritual component. And inside of that, we have a mind mastery module to bring your mind home. We have emotional freedom techniques and tapping module to bring your emotions into a released and calm and coherent state within to support that. We have the whole journey to start to honor all parts of yourself and to know how to choose, behave, and act in the world in a way that supports you. So you can take many different pathways to any result. The way that I do it is through that Soul Odyssey journey. If you're interested in that, we're going to open up enrollments for Soul Odyssey, the program live support and mentorship community in early 2025. You can register for that on the priority waitlist to just express your interest, and then you'll be first notified when we open that up. Just go to bernadettelogue.com/waitlist. That's bernadettelogue.com/waitlist. And then if you're wanting to work privately with me at the time of releasing this podcast, there are spaces remaining for my December and January private coaching one-on-one with me in sessions where I guide you through that healing journey from feeling not good enough, coming home to recover your soulful self, embody and embrace it at all levels, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally. And it'll be my pleasure to be connected with you about that. If you're interested to express interest in private coaching, just email me support@bernadettelogue.com, put in the subject line, I am enough. Okay, email me support@bernadettelogue.com, subject line, I am enough. I will know that that means that you're up for believing, feeling, and living from the come from position of I am enough. And I will send you back all the details about private one-on-one coaching so you can see if it resonates and aligns for you. It's been a pleasure to be here with you wherever you are in the world. I send much love to you, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon.
Thanks for listening to Practical Spirituality with B. I'll talk to you next episode for more spiritual advice for your everyday life, helping you align with your soul so you can live with purpose, fulfillment, and magic.